just before I go to Centre Lombard, I just want to make a few points myself. The first thing, I just want to make, and this is from a practical farming point of view, low emission slurry spreading and the application of low emission slurry is there's definitely management issues with it, and it's something that has to be looked at. And this swivel, or whatever you call it, hasn't been, I don't think, has enough research been done in it to see can we have the same effect with that as we can have with low emission slurry spreading. Slurry is coming back in with silage with the low emission slurry spreading, there's no doubt about that. It's definitely causing problems this winter as regards the level of milk fever in cows. It's definitely causing an issue. And it's, you can say you can try and have it as watering is what you like, but when you walk up, especially when we got a dry year like we got this year after slurry going out in the end of March to begin of April for first cut silage, when you walked out into the field the last week of May after the silage being cut, you could see the lines of the slurry still there in the field. So it's not working in practice. So there's something, and like there has been huge investment in it. So it's something that we really, really want to look at, because look, we want to get out our slurry in the most emission-friendly manner, but we need to look at that. And this swivel, was put forward as an option, and it seemed to die a death. And I can't see why that wouldn't have the same impact on not letting out emissions, and I think it would have a far better distribution of the slurry than leaving it in straight lines in the field. The other thing that's really frustrating farmers is, at the moment, the water quality obviously is a huge issue. We all want to see water quality improving. But farmers in delegation feel that they're the only target as regards, well, definitely financial sanction and financial penalty. And like it was said here in discussion earlier this evening, that we can distinguish where the pollution is coming from. And I don't know, I think you'd have a fair job now to convince farmers that is happening. And the reality is, some smaller towns have no water treatment plants whatsoever. But even some of the larger ones, and I conclude my own town in it, when they get heavy rain, they have one simple answer to it: they just open the sewage gates and it's off down the shore. And that's happening on a very, very regular basis. They haven't got the capacity to deal with stormwater and sewerage mixed. If you open it down a silage pit, you have to keep the stormwater away from all contaminants. And it baffles me how we can have large municipal districts with stormwater and sewerage mixed together. It's just illogical. And and ye would say rightly, it's our job to get Irish water up to the pace of the game. But at the moment, they're most definitely not there. And forestry then, and the impact that the forestry is having. Again, there's obviously we want extra forestry as regards our battle with climate change, but forestry and water quality, I think, is an equation that has to be worked out. And we talked about Tagus, Tashka, and what they said here the last day. And Tashka had one answer to water quality, and that was reduced stocking rate. That's all. That was all they were interested in, really. And no disrespect to the organisation, they're perfectly entitled to put forward their point of view, and we give them the opportunity to do it here. But all other measures that farmers are taking, they put little or no value to them. And like they were actually saying, spreading slurry, it really didn't matter when you spread it. I suppose, as a farmer in delegation, I'm worried, and when I was listening to Mr. Callahan there and talking about that, we have to show improvement when we're going back to try and win this argument. What worries me is it takes a long time for water quality to improve. There has been serious regulations and restrictions put on delegation farmers, where it is roadways sloping away from water courses, moving water tanks away from water courses, and now we have the announced during the week I suppose the strict regulations as regards the exporting of slurry and the reporting of the export of that slurry. And I fully see, and I was just talking to the Minister while we were at voting, I fully see the logic behind it, and that the Department want to ensure that there is compliance behind the exporting of slurry. So, like, I'm not but like, we're doing all these things now, and we have nearly a fool's cap page of things that we're doing. And, you know, they are going to take time to have an impact. And I think the Senator Daly made a point earlier, like he was on an acres farm, and some of the farm wasn't in acres, and they were doing the exact opposite to what the part of the farm that was in acres was doing, and having, you know, a detrimental impact on water quality. And I suppose what's really worrying derogation farmers is that no matter what they do, and the burden that's been put on them is fairly onerous, that no matter what they do, that factors outside their control are going to stop us achieving the retention of our derogation. And like, I would say, you know, and like, obviously I've been meeting farmers on a regular basis. My constituents, like, we're a very strong dairy county, and you have some beef farmers in derogation too, but I know a smaller number. But farmers are extremely nervous that other factors will impact on the water quality, and they're the only ones that will get the blame for it, and that other people are definitely not putting their shoulders to the wheel, both financially and regulatory, the way that dairy farmers that are in derogation are doing. And I suppose I want to go back to the spring of 2022. I'm right, my time scale, I am. We were in Brussels, the department was in Brussels at that stage, and the rules for the game as regards the review coming at the end of 2023 were agreed. And I know it was mentioned earlier, but I think it's absolutely essential that we get parameters there that actually reflect, you know, the water quality in this country, and give us scope that we can legitimately show that we have good water here, which we have. I think we're either the third or fourth best in Europe. And you know, listen to Antashka the last evening here. You know, we'd have an ideal solution if all our cattle were indoors, but like, that's not sustainable farming, in my opinion. And like, when you go into Holland or some of those countries and look at the water courses there, and their cattle are indoors, their water quality, you know, is an awful long ways behind our own. But to me, you know, and to give what we're doing time to work, and I think, you know, I think we can very clearly show to the Commission that we have gone on a very determined road to put regulations in place on farmers that is going to have a positive impact on water quality. But, you know, that has to be given time to work. You know, when we had, you know, in the back end of last year, when we had I suppose the uproar over the 250 dropping the 220, that was the point that was coming through very loud and clearly from farmers, was we're after doing A, B, C, D, E and F, and that they haven't been given the opportunity to work. And that, and ensuring that the parameters that are agreed with Brussels give us a chance to hold our derogation is essential. And I suppose we had ICOS here last week, and last week or the week before, but I thought they put a very, very good submission on the table. And I sent a copy of it to the Minister. But, you know, the dropping from 220 to 170 would take the 3 times of Arabon's volume out of the dairy industry. So, you know, the impact that would have financially on rural Ireland, you know, would be immense. You know, generational renewal there was talked about as well. And, you know, the reality is, if you put us back into an environmental quota, and that's what going back to 170 would be, environmental quota, we're going to have a serious difficult job in any generation renewal, and we're going to have an industry that's going to be under huge pressure. And you know, the dairy industry in Europe can probably cope with a 170 stocking rate, because, you know, they're pushing yields to the last, you know, feeding very strongly. Cows probably producing 50% more than what our cows are producing here. but I would say not in the most sustainable fashion. So look, I'm worried about this. I'm extremely worried about it. You know, as a committee, you know, all we're trying to do is put a structure on what various stakeholders are saying, and obviously we will talk to the Minister when we put a report here together, and hopefully with everyone working together that we can hold on to our delegation. And you know, it's I think it's absolutely essential for the future of rural areas. So you know, I suppose we really do depend on Teagasc in this, and in this regard, to come up with the science that can show that what we're doing is not impacting directly on our water quality, and that, you know, the methods of farming that we're doing isn't impinging on water quality. And you know, there's excellent people there in Teagasc, and I know you'll put all the resources possible into this, but it's, you know, and I don't have to tell you, the importance of this is absolutely huge, and it would be, you know, we're not a decade out of quotas, and you know, everyone thrown off the shackles, and we saw this as a way of really driving rural economies. And there has been huge investment put in, and the investment, you know, the cops might have invested, but it was farmers had to put up the money. It's farmers put that stainless steel in place, and you know, 2 years ago, or possibly more, we had Tier Lawn talking about a cap on peak milk supply. There most definitely won't be any talk of that going into the future. But you know, this is so critical to our economy and so critical to rural Ireland that I just implore that every resource that we have at our disposal is put into this battle. That in my view, that we just have to win to secure the future of rural Ireland.